Welcome to Make the Grade with the Success Doctor, Stephen Green, where you'll discover actionable strategies to help your student to reach their academic goals, to excel at standardized testing, and to plan for the college admissions process painlessly. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Green.
But it's a little muted. I don't know if it's just your sound, but hey guys and women and men and girls and everybody else, educators, students, parents of all ages. Steve Green here, Education Live Thursday. Let's get the theme song going. There is so much going on in the education world. So much going on. I'm not even sure where to start, but I'm going to try. It is midterm time for some schools. It's finals time for some schools. Colleges are just getting back in. Oh boy, there's an ACT in about 2.5 weeks. There's an SAT in about a month and a half. None of them been canceled yet. Hello, Ron Shapiro. In-house. Ron probably leads the league in attendance at Thursday Night Lives. If he doesn't, he's way up there. He's definitely in the top 3. Good to have you as always, Ron. The only thing I'm going to say right now is the word I must have said this word 700 times this week. Consistency. So if you're a student, I don't care what you're studying for, what you're trying to learn, this is high stakes stuff right now. Midterms, finals, if you got block scheduling, whatever. Consistency. Plan your time. Plan your information. Think ahead. If you need help with it, reach out. I do this stuff all day. Be happy to help you. Because it's all about success, but success comes from having good habits and applying them consistently. Speaking about good habits, I am very excited to introduce our guest today. Ken Meyers. He's got a company called Apex Leadership. And as the name implies, Apex, it's like the peak, right? It's like the best possible circumstance. Leadership is what it is. Ken's got a business. I don't have him explain it to you, but basically what he does is he teaches people how to be leaders. And at the same time, and people at schools, PTO moms, you're going to love this. They help you raise money. A lot of it. Ka-ching. So, I don't really want to make a joke about it, but it's tough. Schools are hurting for money to do programming, not to do dumb stuff. I mean, to get computers, to get real stuff they need, to build up resource rooms, playgrounds, class trips, So without any further ado and me blabbing away, Ken Meyers, how are you? Welcome.
Hey, Steve, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm excited. I really enjoy doing this. I love having guests on. It's all about, my goal is to bring value to my audience, which is mostly parents with kids in school. And I know you can do that. And by the way, if Ken looks familiar, it's not because he's the handsomest guy in the world. It's because he was one of the sponsors and a guest way back September 10th. At the back to school virtual workshop. Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, we've
wow.
I've got gray hair since that happened. I had all black hair
before, and I got more now.
Yeah, I know. So Ken, I thank you. I appreciate it that you were able to support that. But so let's get right to the bottom line here. Apex Leadership. What does it do? Who's it do it for? Why do they do it? Where do they do it? How do they do it? When did they do it? How did you get involved? And why should everybody know what you're doing? So.
Could you go through that list of questions again? That was a lot in rapid fire.
Who should be doing this?
I'm just
What's
kidding.
Doing it? Where, when, why, how? Who, when, where? Anyway, go ahead.
Hey, listen, Steve, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. I enjoy watching, some of your other guests. It's always informative, and I think you're doing a great job. Giving a lot of resources to parents and students and schools, which is, obviously, I guess what we both sort of live for. Yes. And so I'll tell you a little bit about Apex Leadership Company. Apex Leadership Company has been around since 2009. It started in Phoenix, Arizona, and it was started by our founder, Scott Donnell. And really, it was started because his wife, who was a first grade teacher, came home one day with a whole bunch of stuff in her car, for her students. And Scott was like, what is all this? And she said, well, Scott, I buy this to help be more effective in my classroom with my kids, teaching and engaging them. And Scott was like, well, how much did you spend on all this stuff? And she said, well, I don't know, about $500. And you know, at the time, Scott and his wife were kind of newlyweds, and they didn't have a whole lot of money. And his first question was, does the school reimburse you for that? And I think you probably know, and certainly all teachers
I'll let you
know.
answer that, but
most people know that the answer was no to that question.
no,
So
maybe
Scott's
they do a little bit. Some school districts do.
and yeah, you're right. Some of the PTOs
They give you an allowance or a stipend or whatever.
Yeah, and give some stipends back to the teachers.
But it's not usually a couple
still a lot
grand.
more that comes out of their pockets than they get reimbursed for. I have a niece and a nephew who are both teachers, and they confirm that is indeed the fact. So Scott's kind of he's just a problem solver, and when he heard this, he just said, that doesn't seem right, and what can we do? And his father was a principal of an elementary school, and his mother was a teacher, and clearly he had no idea they'd been taking money out of their own pockets to support their kids and classes, over the years. So he really got together a lot of people in the education field and said, hey, what can we do to make this better? And really what came out of it was that, while this started the conversation, what really came out of it was that there were really no good programs out there to help inspire the kids, support teachers, help schools raise money, and do it in a way that was that brought value to the students and the teachers. Fundraisers are great, and a lot of schools do fundraisers that raise a lot of money and do good things and provide programs for the kids in the school. But very few, if any, actually have a component that actually teaches the students how to become leaders in their classroom, in their home, in their communities, in their schools. And that's really what Apex is all about. And that's sort of how Apex was formed. And the idea behind it was to actually support the students through leadership skills, because, you don't have to be 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 to be a strong leader. And our message to the kids is, listen, you can be a leader, in kindergarten, in first and third grade and sixth grade. You don't have to wait to be a leader. And what we really try to do is engage with the kids and help promote and support their self-confidence, their self-esteem, and really just their engagement to make a difference. So that's kind of how Apex kind of got off the ground and started. And one of the neat things we do in our program, and this sort of goes back to Scott's wife and her spending her own money, was part of the money that gets raised actually goes back to the teachers to use in their own classrooms. So that's kind of a nice benefit for the teachers, and it certainly gets them excited and engaged in the program. And so that's kind of how it started. And I got into it, simply because I was looking for my next business. I'd had a business for 15 years, and I sold my business to my partner, and it was just time for me to move on and have a new challenge. And I wanted to do something that made a difference. And I had 3 criteria when I was looking at businesses. Unfortunately, I didn't have the next Amazon or Uber percolating between my ears. So I decided to look at franchises. And I was presented with a number of different franchises, and Apex was one of them. And when I looked at Apex's website and just saw what they were doing and saw what their mission was, I was just really hooked. And my 3 criteria was, I wanted to make a difference for people. I wanted it to be community based, and I wanted it to be scalable in a way that I could grow it to impact more people. And Apex really just checked off all those boxes for me. And I'm the youngest of 9 kids. You don't hear that a lot. And certainly not anymore. And
9?
Important to me. 9. Yeah. Ooh. I'm number 9. I always said my parents kept going until they got it right, but that's my brothers and sisters said they kept going until they had me, and then they couldn't do it anymore. But anyway, it depends on which
2 sides of every story, right?
So, but family's important to me. I moved back into the Philadelphia area back in 2014 to be closer to family. I have 2 kids. I have a 6th grader and a 10th grader. And, I've been coaching my son since he was 4 years old in sports, up until the point where I realized he didn't want to hear my voice anymore. So I stopped coaching and let other voices take over from there. But I love helping kids, and I love being a part. I love working with the kids and coaching them. And this is another opportunity to impact kids. And that's really what got me excited about it. And we've we've served some schools in the area. There's so many more schools that we want to serve and support. But we've had tremendous success with the schools we've served, and it's been a fun ride to start, but we got a long way to go.
So let's talk about your deliverables, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you train or teach or give children. You can tell me what grade levels you work with, but I happen to know what they are. But let you tell the audience.
Yeah. So our main program is designed for elementary schools.
Okay.
The K-5, K-6 schools. We have
Nice.
we have a middle school program as well, and we can also work with K-8 schools. And we can actually serve our one program with the older kids, or we do our elementary school program with the whole K-8, and it can be very effective with the
So
K-8
they can be
kids
as young
well.
as 6, 7, 8 years old.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Kindergartners, first graders, absolutely, yeah. And that's our mindset is to get them when they're young, and really talk to them about how they can make an impact, and our message is so much around like teamwork, giving to others, putting others before yourself. But it's also about being aware of who you are. We talked to the kids about mindfulness this year. That's one of our lessons this year. And we talked to them about sort of checking in with themselves first and seeing how they're doing. I mean, this is a crazy year. We're all dealing with a lot of things. So we really need to kind of check in with ourselves. But being mindful is also about checking in with others. And we talked to them about, check in with your friends and with your family and your brothers and sisters and your mom and dad. Just check in and say, hey, how you doing? Because just about anybody appreciates that question, and it gives you an opportunity to just be there for somebody.
So I'm sure it isn't like you come knocking on the door of the school one morning and say, hey, we're here to teach you to be leaders. So
I do knock on the doors of schools, and sometimes I actually crash PTO meetings and home and school meetings.
Okay, so who would be, if I'm a parent sitting here and saying, well, I'm going to get Ken into my school, or I know a circumstance where this would be great. Who would you like to be introduced to? Who would be the typical person?
Honestly, it's the board members on the PTOs and the home and school associations. Okay. They're the ones that tend to make the decision on what fundraising programs they're going to do or events they're going to do that year. And while we are a fundraiser, we're so much more than a fundraiser. But that's really how people look at us initially. It's like, oh, okay, we need a fundraiser. How are we going to raise money for this, that, or the other thing? Obviously, principals are really important as well to be a part of the process, because while generally it's the moms and the dads that are on the PTOs that are running the programs, because of the way our program is designed, we're literally on campus of the school for 2 weeks. We're in the school all day long for 2 weeks. Wow. Obviously, the principal needs to sign off on that, and they have to give the thumbs up and the okay for that. So our program is designed over a 2-week period. We actually come on campus. We have what we call a teacher huddle, and it's just we're there to sort of explain to the teachers who we are, why we're there, what we're doing, and the fact that we're actually going to be coming into their classroom over the next 2 weeks for a short period of time to teach our leadership lesson to the kids and let them know, how that works and, how long we're going to be in there and all those kinds of good things. So they're aware before we come knocking on their door that we're going to be showing up. And, and then we have what we call a pep rally. That's day 2. The pep rally is where we get the whole school together. We get all the kids to come together, the teachers, the administration, all the staff is there. And it's really a fun event. We have our we call them our athletes. They're our young adults. And that's really the magic. And I'll get to that in a little bit, but that's the magic of our program is our athletes and our young adults who run these programs. So our athletes come in and we set up usually it's in the gym. We set up the gym. We put our big Apex blow up tunnel in there. We have cones set up so that the kids know where to sit. And we just explain to them why we're there. We talk to them about that we're going to be there for the next 2 weeks. We're going to be helping them raise money for their school through teaching them leadership skills and promoting a fitness-based event. So a fitness-based event is how the fundraising works, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But we talk to them about the different lessons that we're going to be teaching them, and we're going to be talking to them about. We talk to them about how they can help support their school by sharing our webpage. And our webpage is our online platform that helps with fundraising. And the nice part about it, we were sort of socially distanced fundraising before it was it was necessary. The kids aren't going out knocking on doors or not walking around. They're not selling. There's no products that are being sold. All they're doing is asking for family and friends to help support them in their school on the event that they're going to be doing, the fitness event. There's 4 different events they can choose from. Our main one is our fun run. Okay, so our fun run is designed to get the kids outside to be running and to be exercising. And they get pledges based on every lap that they run. We set up tracks where the kids run. They're a 16th of a mile around. And if they run up to 36 laps, which is the most number of laps they can run for pledging purposes, I'll explain why that is in a second, they will run 2.2 miles. Okay. Now you go up to kids and you say, hey, we're going to go run 2.2 miles. They look at you like you got, 3 heads. When you go to kids and say, hey, we're going to run laps around this really cool track with this big blow up tunnel that you get to run through with cones, music playing, all that. Kids love it. We have kids that run 50, 70, even 100 laps in that half hour that we do. So it's pretty cool. But when little Susie or Johnny runs 100 laps and grandma pledged $5 per lap, she doesn't really want to get a bill for $500. That's why we cap it at 36 laps. Okay, so they can kind of understand. Share a funny story with you.
But it's for the kids. It's for the kids.
It is for the kids, but everybody, you have your limits into what you're. And I actually had a grandfather of one of my students pledge $500 per lap. So anytime somebody pledges $5 per lap or more, we have checks and balances in place to make sure that is really what they meant to do. So I knew he didn't mean to pledge $500 per lap. So I sent him an email and I said, hey, Mr. So-and-so, I just wanted to reach out to you. You pledged $500 per lap, which would be between $12,000 to $18,000. My assumption is that you didn't mean to pledge that. But if you did, I'm sure the school would be happy to name a wing after you. Please get back to us. So he responded. He said, "No." Yeah, exactly. So he responded and said, "Listen, that's I meant to pledge $500, not $500 per lap." And I said, first of all, that's still an extremely generous pledge. I assumed he meant to pledge $5 per lap and just forgot to put the decimal point in. But he meant to pledge $500, and you can donate flat donations as well. You don't have to necessarily pledge per lap or per event. You can donate $20, $50, $100 kind of thing. So that's sort of how it works. So now, coming back to the 10-day program.
Okay, let me just interrupt you for 1 sec.
Sure.
Bottom line, how much money average do you think you could raise?
Well, it's a hard thing to say average because it really
just
depends.
Throw a number out because I want to get a comparison to what like selling candy bars is going to make for.
Yeah, let me give you a few examples. Okay.
Okay.
So I served a school that had about 850 students in it. Okay. They were supposed to net. And this is what their end that they get to keep. They were supposed to net $36,000. They ended up netting over $44,000 with our program. Their largest fundraiser before that was $25,000. Okay, so it was a big school, so they did good fundraisers before, but nothing like they did with our program. The last school I served, which was Wyncote Elementary in Cheltenham, they had about 350 kids, and they were projected to maybe make around $12,000. They netted over $17,000. Their largest fundraiser before, over years, they told me they maybe make between $3,000 to $5,000. So that's just to give you a scale of kind of how it works. We tend to raise 70 to 100% more on average than your standard product-based fundraisers. Even other schools that do their own fun runs and things like that, we still tend to raise 20 to 30% more. And that's just because we do this every week, constantly. We know what we're doing. And we are. And our online platform, the software that we use allows them to reach a much broader range of people. In the last school I served, they got pledges from 38 different states and 2 different countries. And you're just not going to do that with, selling cookie dough or wrapping paper or restaurant.
Which frankly, do you know what really happens with them? Because I have kids.
So you get thrown away.
I'll tell you exactly what happens. Kid comes home with some packet and it says, oh, you got to go sell wrapping paper. And then you'll say, well, call your grandma, call your aunt, go walk around the neighborhood. And they don't want to do it, so they pretend like they do it. They sell one of them, and then guess who ends up buying all of them? Yeah, me. The parent, right, exactly. We got a question here. I was going to ask you this, and this may be jumping the gun a little bit, but I think it's a reasonable question. This is a hands-on experience, right? So, I mean, listen, I'm in and out of schools, and a lot of things have been impacted by COVID, but at least in the top 5 is the whole education system, maybe even the top 1, in my opinion. How's that impacted you? I can't imagine it's helped.
But no, it hasn't. It certainly hasn't helped. It's a great question, and Apex, if nothing, is flexible. Okay. As when you're dealing with schools and you're in schools, I mean, we have times where all of a sudden the schools get let out early or there's a snow day. So we have to be flexible and manage our program around, challenges, interruptions, changes. And this was really, excuse me, this is really no different to us. And we pivoted really quickly and we created a virtual program. Okay. So, frankly, we can do our entire program for a school over a Zoom platform or, any other kind of platform, video platform that the school may be using. We can use that. We can teach our lessons the same. Obviously we don't have the direct interaction with the kids like we do obviously when we're in the school itself. And I do think that can make a difference without question. But the great thing about our lessons that we're teaching, and I hadn't gotten to the lesson part, like days 3 through 8 of the 10-day period are when we're doing our lessons in the classroom for the kids. That's really where the magic happens. And that's where we're really getting the connection and interaction with the kids. So clearly, not being there face to face has an impact on that. But the lessons that we're teaching and the messages that we're getting out are still really important and even a little bit more important now in days where kids are just sitting in front of a computer all day. They're not interacting with their friends. The lessons that we're teaching really help support the social and emotional learning that the kids need. So we've had a lot of really positive results from doing our programs this year in a virtual format. In some cases, we'll raise less than we would in a live. In some cases, we're raising the same. And in some cases, we've raised more. So it really just depends. But our message this year is not so much about the fundraising. Our message is more about the kids and the impact that we're trying to have with the kids and the message we're trying to get to the kids. And those who can help and can support and fundraise, great. Make a donation. If you can't, that's okay. We're here for the kids. Mm-hmm. And believe me, I'm hoping come September we're back in the schools and we're rocking and rolling because there is nothing like our athletes with the kids. But we do have a great virtual program. And even hybrid, so we can really anywhere in between full live to full virtual.
Education Live Thursday. Steve Green here. If you are watching, listening, doing whatever you're doing. You want to make a comment, just throw it in the chat underneath and we'll post it up there if it's a compelling thing or you want Ken to answer a question for you. We're here every Thursday night. Guess what? If you have a message for parents, education-based, academic-based, you want to be a guest on Education Live, just reach out. Let me know. I'm booking guests for March, a little bit of March, April, May. I've got some really interesting people coming up I think you're going to enjoy all across the board. Very eclectic mix. I always like that word, eclectic. I try to say it at least once every Thursday.
It's a good $5 word for sure.
It is a good word. And I think I can spell it. But anyway, let me ask you this on a personal level. Because this was a career change for you. You took a risk to do this business, right?
Yeah.
And we don't have to get into that part of it. But I've been a career educator. And one of the reasons people go into education is because of the personal satisfaction. Right, you work with a child who's struggling or a class. It's like the to serve with love thing, and then
my favorite movies, actually.
Right. Well, yes. Well, we'll sing the theme song later. We'll do a duet. But anyway, so what? Look, you got to make a living, and some teachers can do pretty nicely, but I think the thing you cannot manufacture and the thing you can't put a price tag on is that feeling of doing what you do in front of your kids, so to speak, and then you just feel like everybody's gained, right? And I got to think you're getting some of that mojo doing this. Yeah. And can you address that and maybe cite one or two particularly poignant or experiences that you might have? Maybe you don't have to mention names, but like an individual kid or a grade level or something like
absolutely.
that. Because I'm sure you're making money, which is awesome. You're building leaders, but I got to think there's some individual kids, like maybe you get the really shy kid who was afraid and now they're like the leader of the group kind of thing. But tell me some stories here.
I've got several stories that I can share with you.
I'm going to limit you to two, but three if they're really good.
And I can make them fairly quick too. And and I will tell you the reason I got into this business was because of all of what you just said. And it's really you know, yeah, this is not a nonprofit, right? We do make money here, but 80 to 90% of all the money raised in the school actually goes back into the school. And while there's a revenue share, so the schools really have no risk in this program. That's the other great thing. There's really no risk to the school. The only risk is to me. I invest in every school I serve before we raise $1. But of the money of my percentage that I receive, most of that money goes back into the school because we provide all the prizes. We provide T-shirts for all the kids, the athletes that are working the school, serving the school. I'm paying for it. They're kind of paid like teachers, so they're not getting paid, huge dollars. But all of that money gets invested back into the school. So there's about a 10 to maybe 15, 20% profit at the end of the day for Apex. But the revenue share between the two is anywhere from 50 to 60% goes to the school and 40 to 50% comes to me. And it's a sliding scale depending on how much they raise. The more they raise, the higher percentage they keep. But of that 40 to 50% that I get, the majority of that money is actually put back into the school through the prizes and the athletes and, the other things that we do, our software, all that kind of stuff. So again, back to the schools and to me, the fundraising sort of the cherry on top, but why I do this and what gets me up every day and what gets me excited every day is really the impact that we have with these kids. And I got a couple of stories I'll share with you. One of the schools I served, we literally raised them so much money they were wondering whether they should bring us back the next year because they literally had covered their budget for almost 2 years. And they asked the principal in our wrap-up meeting. They said, do you think we should bring these guys back next year? We have a lot of money. I don't know if we need to. And the principal looked at him. He said, you have to bring them back next year. He said, the money's great and everything. And, we could always probably use more money. He said, but it's really the lessons that they're teaching. And he said, the lessons that they taught really hit home with the kids that we needed them to hit home with. And to me, that's like the best thing you could say. I mean, I was on cloud nine I'm still on cloud nine when I even repeat that story because that's why I do this, because I want to impact kids. I'll share a brief story about me.
The money in the school is like pitching on a baseball team. You can never have too much, right? So, exactly. but I know what you're communicating is the feeling that for the money was secondary. It was that there were life skills that were taught that you can't put a price tag on.
No.
That kids now have a sense of pride individually and as groups and collectively.
They take ownership in this program. They want to be a part of this program, which is really exciting. We have about a 55 to 75% participation rate with students in our program from a fundraising perspective versus your product-based sales, which are maybe 25 to 30% of kids actually even participate in them. And they're not getting anything out of it. That's what's great. And all of our kids are getting, whether they raise money or not, it doesn't matter. They're getting the leadership lessons. We have classroom achievements that the classroom gets to participate in if they reach a certain goal of fundraising. It could be 5 kids in a 20-person class that's raising all the money, but everybody gets to participate in our classroom achievements. Everyone participates in the event day, whether they haven't raised a penny or not. They all get to participate in the fun run or the remix or whatever event the school chooses. So we really focus on making sure all of the kids are included in our programs. And another quick story for you. There was a school that I served, and about 2 days after the program was over, I had to go back to just pick up a few things that were still left at the school. And our Apex colors, I'm wearing my shirt, but it doesn't really show, but we're orange and blue, right? So, and they're loud and things like that. So it's pretty easy to spot us in a crowd, okay? So I'm walking through the school to pick up some things, and a 3rd or 4th grade girl came up to me, and she said, please tell Billy, Wonka, and Mojo I missed them. And, that to me was like, I could hear that all day long because that tells me my athletes are connecting with these kids.
There was a bond. They built a bond.
There was a bond that was made, and that
time.
Yeah, in a really short time.
Have you been doing this long enough? Because I know you're relatively new, at least here. But have you been doing this long enough where you might have had a kid who, let's say, was in 4th or 5th grade and went through your program, and then, I don't know, 4 or 5 years later became one of the athlete coaches?
I have not. But it's happened.
Can that happen though?
Like it's happened across the country with our program, other franchise.
That would be pretty cool. Like overnight camps. Like
actually gone on to be a franchise owner. They've gotten their own franchise at some point.
Wow.
Yeah, which is really cool. And that's my goal. My hope is that I can bring some kids in that really care about what we're doing here and help them get to that point where maybe at some point down the road they can have their own franchise. That would be, that to me is my mentor part. My mentoring is for the athletes that I bring in. That's who I'm looking to mentor, and then their job is to mentor the kids. Because frankly, I'm closer to the creepy old man than I am the cool young guy. My athletes are awesome.
I'm wherever you are, Ken. I'm like 2 levels worse. Let's see what the studio audience thinks of this whole thing here.
Sure.
Look at that. There's for the fundraising. There we go. And here's for Ken. Where are you? Messed up, man. There we go. My producer. Producer, what are you doing? Let's talk about one last thing. We're going to kind of bring it around and wrap it up here for a second. And by the way, it's customary on the Education Thursday Night Live when a guest has a beautiful custom, company shirt that they share one with the host. But I'm joking. That is a very handsome shirt. Where do you see this going? Like I ask almost every guest this now. It's January, almost February 2021. And I'm thinking, no. There's the producer's back.
I'm so popular that it happened again.
Yeah, there you go. That was actually the cat. My overpaid and underworked cat now decides to get to work. This is really a 2-part question because I want to hear what you think bigger picture, and I also want to hear what you think within your business itself. I'm hoping we're normal, quote unquote, going back to school in September. And I think we got a plan, at least hopefully, for that to happen. But where do you see? And really the question is this: what do you think we have learned? But I mean, as educators, people who work in schools, in this whole last almost year, 10 months plus of this COVID stuff, that is positive is going to carry through. Like in your case, you didn't have a virtual program, now you do. So maybe there's a school you can serve that it's just a better option, or at least an option. Yeah. But what do you think? It's a long question, but...
Yeah, no, I got you. And it's actually interesting that you said that, because one of the things that's come out of this for us is that, we never did virtual programs before, but now we can. And there are schools that might be interested in doing my program. See, one of the things that I have to be conscious of is, my athletes are driving to the school every day. So I can't serve a school out in State College, PA, or, because they can't drive 3 hours, every day, or even hour and a half, 2 hours every day. That's a lot to ask of them. So I try to keep my schools within about an hour, radius of where we are. And, but now with the virtual program, we can serve pretty much any school anywhere as long as they're open to a virtual program. So that's sort of a positive out of this. And like from an overall perspective, I think, one of the real positives that has come out of this, I was just talking to somebody about this today in terms of, finding silver linings, because this past year, it's been a little challenging to find a lot of silver linings.
I think that's an understatement, but yeah.
Yes. But I think one of the silver linings is I think we've just come to realize that we're all a whole heck of a lot more resilient than maybe we've given ourselves credit for. And, I see a lot of complaints on Facebook and social media about how the schools are handling things and this and that and the other. But, they're doing the best that they can in a really, really difficult, situation. And I also think that, one of the other things, and I don't know if it's a silver lining or not, but I think it's important. Kids need to be around each other. Kids need that interaction. And it's really important. And, so, I know the trampoline companies and a lot of those companies did really well in this time because parents were trying to find something for their kids to do because they couldn't hang out with their friends. And I'm one of them. My daughter loves her trampoline, but, kids need interaction with each other. And, God willing, we'll be back in September and they'll have that again.
That's when I'm working with students, I'm working with my, caseload of kids. It's the big, not one kid tells me they miss learning geometry or ILA or world history. I miss hanging out with my friends. And obviously school's academically centered, but it's also the center of most of these kids' social lives.
Absolutely.
I mean, for the most part, and their sports sometimes, and their theater, and there's a lot more that goes on in school than
Yeah.
just going and sitting in English and reading and whatever. You get all the extracurricular and student government and clubs, and it's a big
Yeah,
list.
and they learn how to deal with other kids, right? And they learn how to deal with conflict, and they all of those things are really important life lessons that they're learning throughout that process. And some of them deal with them better than others, and some of them don't deal with them so well. But that's also what the teachers are for, and that's what we're for, is to help support that and to kind of help kids understand that it's not always going to be great. You might get into an argument with somebody, but that's okay. But think about it from their perspective as well. Think about how they're feeling and put yourself in their shoes. And my daughter just had a situation with a friend, and one of the other things that is not a great, social media is really challenging for the kids, right? Communicating and saying the right thing and putting it in the right. And she had an issue with a friend the other day, and they got into a big fight over that, and they were blocking each other. And I said, Sabrina,
the modern day silent treatment.
Yeah. And I said, Sabrina, do me a favor. Just send your friend a text. Tell her that you're sorry. And just tell her, what you said you didn't mean to upset her, and you're really sorry, and that you hope that you can still be friends. And her friend responded, and she said, I'm really sorry that I didn't accept your first apology. We absolutely definitely be friends. And I just talked to her through that. And I said, listen, here's the deal. When this was going on, you should have come and talked to me. And I know that's hard for you because, sometimes I tell you, you need to, be mature and make good decisions, but sometimes you need a little help making those decisions. And, moms and dads have been through these things before, and we can help you kind of navigate and get through it a little bit and maybe make it a little easier. And, and she was appreciative of that. And she was appreciative of the fact that she learned how to solve a problem that she didn't know how to solve before. And I know I've kind of gotten off track of what your original question was, but again, it's what I'm kind of referring to is just that interaction with kids and kids being able to, figure out how to manage conflict or how to manage issues that come up between them that aren't.
Because they're not going to be in 8th grade their whole lives, and they're going to go into the workforce. They're going to own businesses. They're going to be employees. They're going to be professionals, and they're going to have to cope with situations, hopefully not that often, but at least occasionally, that they're not comfortable in.
Right.
Ron Shapiro, not only is he leading the league in attendance, but he is leading the league in incredibly erudite and sagacious questions asked. So congratulations, Ron. Ron asks, do you have activities for students with disabilities or students with no athletic interest?
That's a great question, Ron, and here's how I'll answer that. I think the answer is yes. We don't necessarily have a different event for every scenario that might pop up, but we, one of the schools that we served, they had a lot of kids with disabilities at their school, and a number of them were in wheelchairs. And what we ended up doing was we had the 6th graders come back. We had a special run just for those kids, and 6th graders came back and actually pushed the kids around the track in their wheelchairs. And it was probably the most emotional time of the entire day. The 6th graders got so much pleasure out of being able to support, and there were times there was 4, 5, 6 kids around one wheelchair running with the wheelchair. The kids in the wheelchairs were just so elated. It was really awesome, and we try to do things like that to support kids with disabilities. And in terms of kids that have no athletic interest whatsoever, it's really interesting. I haven't run into that situation yet where somebody's just like, I have no interest in doing this, because we'll set up a track where the kids can walk if they want. They don't have to run. So we try to make accommodations for all the kids. I don't know that we're 100% successful in making every kid happy in every circumstance, but we certainly will do our best.
But you're not really marketing this as a sports
not really.
It's getting kids moving around and doing fun things.
It's more just about activity and exercise and that kind of thing, more than anything. That's our message to kids. We have a remix, which is a glow in the dark dance party where the kids can just kind of stand in place and move their hips if they want. There's their dance moves and fitness moves that we do during that. So there's different things that we do, and we always, we will always make some sort of adaptation to support students who can't physically do what it is we're required. But if there's a student that just, hey, I'm not really into athletics or not into that, we'll try to make it work for them. But we generally don't set up a whole different, scenario for them.
All right. Ken Meyers.
But there's very few kids, and when they see their friends out there doing it, you'll see kids that's just in groups together. They're a little group of friends, and they'll stay together running or walking or whatever. So.
Same as the prom and later. Flash forward 10 years.
Yeah, right.
Ken Meyers, Apex Leadership Company. I want to thank you for being this week's guest. Listen, what you're doing is very, very valuable and very needed. And I hope people out there listening might have some people they could share. Tell us how people get a hold of you. If somebody wants to bring this into their school or knows somebody maybe who has a connection to help you bring it into their school, what should they do?
Yeah, I mean, our website is apexleadershipco.com. And if you do a contact us, you can actually drill it down to, find your area that you're in, and it'll tie you into me, assuming you're in the Philadelphia area. If you're in another area and watching this, it'll tie it into a local franchise in your area if there is one. We're in 35 states right now. So and another way is just reach out to me via email. It's Ken M, like as in Ken Meyers, but Ken M at apexleadershipco.com. And my phone number is 267-630-3457. And if you're in a school or part of a school and you'd like to learn a little bit more, please reach out to me. Last thing I am is a high pressure sales guy. This to me is about the kids, and I'd love to have conversations with schools. And we've got schools that we've served. We have references from principals and PTO moms and dads and home and schools and things like that. So happy to refer you to folks to have a conversation with them to see how it worked for them. But our goal is to be serving 100 schools a year, because if we're serving 100 schools a year, we're reaching a lot of kids that way.
We're reaching thousands of kids then.
Yeah, and we got a long way to go to get there, but that's my goal. If we can help in any way, hope to hear from you.
All right. This is motivating. I find this motivating. I think you're doing a great job, Ken. I know it's a little bit of a labor of love. Obviously, it's a business, but your deliverable is so cool, and it's a brilliant idea to blend leadership, a little bit of fundraising, get everybody pumped up, get them motivated. It's just really good. I'm glad you made it. We tried doing this before, but I'm glad you'd be able to make it tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I was the one that came up with the idea. I'm not quite that smart, but this is and I'm probably not completely objective, but this is a phenomenal program, and all the schools that we've served have absolutely loved our program. The kids have loved our program, and on top of that, we've raised them a lot of money, more than they're normally used to raising. So, but it's really about the kids at the end of the day, and that's, like I said before, that's what gets me up and going every day.
All right, listen, let me just foreshadow February a little bit. In no particular order, I have an ADHD specialist coming on. We have a person who specializes in how to get accommodations. Maybe you think your kid might need them, maybe not. How do you go through that? We have a dietitian, going to talk about ways to, and now the kids are home a lot, keep them kind of on the healthier side. All sorts of cool things going on. I might have a yoga teacher come in. Not sure if I got that completely locked in yet, but it's all over the board. Again, that eclectic mix of people. Yes.
Got that word in again.
You got it in twice tonight, or really three times, because I said it twice the first time. Steve Green, Ken Meyers, we're going to sign off in a second. One favor I would ask everyone is try to give Ken a hand here. If you know somebody, reach out. He's right. I know Ken a while. He's there to help. He's not there to push something on you don't need. Testimonials are awesome, but reach out, help them, hook them up with some people so they can come in and help as many people as possible. That's what we all need to do these days. So that is it. I hope everybody enjoyed tonight's edition of Education Live Thursday. This is the 15th one of these over the last few months, and it seems to be on a pretty good roll, so I appreciate the support. If you want to make some comments, you can put them in the chat. Maybe if Ken doesn't see them live, we'll answer them asynchronously. Another good word. And we'll go from there. I mean, all about the vocabulary tonight.
Yeah,
it's been. I gotta tell you, it's been a long week. I'm just a little tired. I'm I got another
You
student
look
I got to
good.
work.
You look good. You actually look like you just came from the beach. I look like I
Yeah,
have
yeah.
been to the sun for,
It's
6
the makeup. It's my makeup artist.
I
Got
need
my
to get one.
producer here, my makeup artist there. Let's see what the studio audience thought. They are pumped. They are really pumped up for tonight. So I'm going to sign out of here. Ken, again, thank you. Let's get the theme
Thank you,
song
Steve.
going. Best of luck with everything. Keep in touch. I'd love to have you back here maybe once we get normal so you can tell some stories of actually being in schools again and some of the interactions and things like this. So I'll see
Thanks,
everybody
Steve.
next week, if not before. Ken, adios, and
All right, have a good
thanks, everyone.
You've been listening to Make the Grade with the Success Doctor, Stephen Green. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe. For more resources and support, please visit makethegrade.net.